presentation of a smart, flexible, and secure platform for compliance monitoring.
I'll introduce myself first. My name is Bill Soulliere. I've been with the Environmental Product Group at Teledyne Isco for the past 10 years. Today's presentation, we're going to discuss some new equipment that's available and the ease and flexibility that equipment can be used for compliance monitoring. First, let me introduce Teledyne Isco. We are located in Lincoln, Nebraska. We employ close to 300 people. Now, one interesting fact about our environmental division is it was founded slightly after the Clean Water Act of 1972 was invoked. We are one of the leading global suppliers for environmental sampling and flow meter monitoring equipment. And what we like to pride ourselves is our reputation of reliability and excellent customer service. Today's webinar is going to introduce some new products and what we like to call a smart platform. Now, in this smart platform, the two products we're going to introduce is the Signature Flow Meter and the 5800 Wastewater Refrigerated Sampler. We would like you to take a close look at the smart options that are now available and find the uses for these in your current compliance monitoring needs. Now, the design concept for smart devices is that everything meshes together. You have a flow meter that talks to a sampler, monitors that sampler for possible alarm conditions. Also, that same flow meter does more than measure liquid level, calculate flow. It has the ability to communicate with maybe other communication devices already existing at your applications or your facilities, and also maybe give an extra option for monitoring water quality. Now, a smart way to monitor all begins with the ISCO 5800 Refrigerated Sampler. Now, of this 5800 sampler, you have smart features that we'd like to introduce. First one is a display indicator. Many times when you're monitoring using an automatic sampler, you walk by and you look at the equipment and you hope that it's doing its job. With the new 5800 monitor, if there is anything that you needed to be concerned about, the display on the unit will flash during alarm conditions. So if you had a situation to where maybe the bottle was full inside the refrigerator or the distributor jammed on a certain number of bottle, then it would flash the display and the blinking display would indicate there's a problem. That way you can react and not miss your whole sampling routine. Another smart feature of the 5800 sampler is you have the ability to store and recall up to 4 different programs. So you could have one program entered that's just for sampling during the weekdays. Another program entered that's for sampling on the weekends. Or many times when I'm talking to customers on the phone, they ask for a scenario for a high flow sampling event and a low flow sampling event. Under these conditions, you can store a program, configure a program for both that high and that low flow, keep it there. When it's time to load it for a low flow, you don't have to go through each individual programming step. You just load your low flow program. Now, another smart feature is pauses and resumes. Through the pauses and resume of a sampling program, you're able to synchronize that sampler's activities to your plant operations. So if you know that your plant is only functioning 4 days a week, then you can run a program that runs 4 days, pauses until that program resumes. A 5800 will also automatically restart your sampling routines with a program auto rerun. Now, what auto rerun means is that, let's say I wanted to run a sample routine Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during the week. I start the program on Monday. It runs through its 24-hour cycle, waits until Wednesday, starts the program over, continues that 24-hour cycle, then waits till Friday, runs that program again. The 5800 also has the ability to view and download summary reports right from the display of the unit. Now, in those summary reports, you can monitor the refrigerator temperature and when samples were collected right from the unit. Another smart feature of the 5800 is that on the connect cable that we'll discuss in a little bit, you're able to monitor the bottle number output so you can monitor the status of your sampler activity via an external PLC or a flow meter. The 5800 unit also invokes a smart cooling system. In the smart cooling system, the temperature inside the unit is microprocessor controlled. So it monitors ambient outside temperature and allows the refrigerator to run more. So it's going to cool more efficiently. It's going to maintain that desired 4 degrees C on a more consistent basis. Another unique feature of the 5800 is the circulation fan. In many competitive refrigerated samplers, there are several cooling zones throughout the refrigerated compartment, and so one area might be cooler than another area. You'll notice a lot of times the manufacturer will specify the exact location of a secondary monitoring device, like a thermostat, a thermometer that's inside of that unit. Now, with that thermometer, if they always have you place it in the cold zone. With the circulation fan, there's even cooling throughout the entire enclosure. Another unique feature of the 5800 is the high efficiency compressor. So it's not going to run as often to keep that 4 degrees C, which in the end helps you save down on electrical costs. Many familiar with the ISCO product line may be looking at the new 5800 sampler and kind of looking at it and are familiar with the ISCO 4700 sampler and kind of wondering what's really the difference between these two units. You know, we did mention the smart features that are now incorporated into the 5800 design, but there's some also performance issues that were improved with the 5800 design. First of all, we redesigned the temperature sensors. They're more accurate, they're more durable, they'll provide longer life than they would in the previous units. Along with the temperature sensors, there is an improved power supply that has higher current and will provide more reliable performance. We've also relocated the start relay and improved the corrosion resistance. So we took a very reliable unit, added more durable sensors, power supply, start relay, corrosion resistance, and actually improved that unit off of that initial design. A 5800 sampler has a smart integral connector on the backside. There's only one connector, and there's one access cable that allows many different inputs or outputs to be accessible to the unit. Through this same connector, there's a multi-purpose cable that allows for interface to a 4 to 20 milliamp source, or an ISCO flow meter, or a competitor's flow meter. So it gives you flexibility for that. Now, at the same time, that 5800 multi-purpose cable has access for alarm contacts that can be monitored via a PLC or can be used to control external valves or relays or audible or light alarms. Now, the alarm conditions that can be monitored using those output alarms are a program started condition, or if the program's completed. If there's a pump error that can be monitored along with distributor jams, or if you just need to know there's power to your sampler, there's an option for that. Now, if you're concerned about the activity of your sampler and want to be alerted when the pump runs forward or reverse, or when it's just taking a sample, those are also conditions that can be monitored using these alarms. Now, there's a couple other options available here, one with the three-way valve control and the other with the delay before sample. We use these alarm conditions to control external valves, or we may set it so when the sample is actually starting to take a sample and we need to divert a valve and wait for flow to be present, there's a delay before sample option that can be used on these same type of input and output devices. $5,800 allows for smart monitoring in a scenario to where a customer may be monitoring several different water quality parameters, whether they'd be pH, conductivity, flow rate, those type of things, and allows the input from those multiple meters to be accepted into the 5800 sampler and then processed, and you can take samples based on those three parameters. But the real question is if you could buy 1 meter that would make the system even smarter, that would add flexibility and a degree of usefulness to the system. And that's what we're introducing today. Smart monitoring using the 5800 sampler that we just introduced and our recently introduced Signature Flow Meter series. Now, the Signature Flow Meter series has a unique input device technology called TIENet. And what TIENet stands for is Teledyne Isco Environmental Network. And what that does is it allows for smart sensor technology to be built into TIENet sensors and other input-output devices. Now, of these TIENet devices, that signature meter is smart enough to accept up to 9 different sensors and or input-output devices to a single unit. This TIENet device it's a proprietary protocol that only communicates with the ISCO device, and the unique feature to that is that the devices can be easily added or removed from the base unit. When you're configuring that base unit to use a smart sensor, it's a quick, easy system for configuration. The meter scans for a new device, finds its location, and makes the notes in the program that allow for the programming using that unique device. They also record the individual serial number from that device into your system so you can kind of track where those sensors or where those other input-output devices are located. They're all in that base unit. That information is available through text reports. When you want to add a smart sensor to the system, it doesn't require a software or a firmware upgrade. It's all programmed in. You make the proper wire connections, scan for the new device, recognizes it, and you're ready to go. Now, as a former technician, I remember all the times when you were wiring equipment together to interface it together, remembering specific wiring colors and wiring codes was always tough. One of my favorite features about the signature meter and this TIENet communication device is that every single smart sensor that you would install in this unit wires in exactly the same wiring color code and the same order. It goes yellow, brown, shield, red, black, and then you've got a braid or a drain. no matter what the device is, they all connect to the signature meter in the same wiring code. We'll take a look at some of the measurement technologies that are available through your signature flow meter. We have a TIENet 310 non-contact ultrasonic sensor. Along with the use of the ultrasonic sensor, you can see from the listing here that it has a 1-foot deadband. The signature flow meter will calculate the flow rate using the level input from that ultrasonic device and then use the meter's built-in flow conversions. Now, along with the level measurement that it stores and records into the unit, it'll also record diagnostics that are important that'll tell you your average signal strength, maybe your minimum or your maximum signal strength. Many times when I would talk to customers about ultrasonic troubleshooting, they would indicate that during certain weather conditions, whether it be windy, which we all know affects an ultrasonic sensor, or changes in temperatures, they would lose signal or they would have inaccurate readings. With the signature device, you're recording ultrasonic diagnostics that will help you kind of tell what was going on maybe during those questionable flow monitoring times, temperature conditions, and you'll have a good basis to know exactly what's going on. The next available technology that we'll look at is the 330 bubbler device. Now, this is a tried and true bubbler technology that's been synonymous with ISCO flow monitors for years. But we improved on the concept. Now, typically, when you have a bubbler meter, you have one pressurized value that you force the bubble out into the stream. With the signature, you're able to control that pressurize. There's 3 different settings from 12 psi all the way up to 20 psi that allow for a pressurized bubble to be emitted out into your stream. So that's going to help alleviate bubble clogs, some of the calcium deposits that build up inside of those bubble lines. You know, we like to refer to this as an advanced purging technique. And what I'd like to introduce today is our brand new TIENet 350 area velocity option. Now, the area velocity option doesn't require a primary measurement device to measure flow. It measures the flow stream average area velocity and the liquid level, and then calculates the actual flow in the channel using those 2 parameters. A unique feature to the signature is that you can have multiple AV sensors connected to the one signature meter. We've discussed options that covered flow monitoring, but many times in a compliance monitoring scenario, you may need to monitor water quality. So we offer a TIENet 301 pH sensor interface. Now what this sensor interface does is it'll monitor the pH and the temperature of your discharge water. Now, with the unique features of the signature, you're able to have alarm notifications and also pace the sampler maybe and collect sample values when that pH values may become close to or exceed the parameter that's been established. The 301 TIENet device uses the same pH probe as the 201 and the 701 existing pH modules that are offered by Teledyne Isco. Another option is a TIENet 306 sampler interface. Now this allows the signature meter to talk to an ISCO sampler, any ISCO sampler, no matter the age of it. Now, with the signature, you can enable and disable, paste the sampler, and send other valuable information to and from the sampler to the flow meter for storing. The signature meter also records the bottle number for information, and that's available on the display of the signature flow meter. Now, with this flexibility, what it allows is for the use of one signature flow meter in multiple monitoring situations. In an example that we have 3 different monitoring locations that have a sampler, a pH monitor, and an ultrasonic at 3 different applications or installations. All that data can be brought back to a single signature, and then the data collected and processed from there. Now, the one thing I didn't tell you, you can kind of see the extra box in my wiring code there, is that it may require an expansion box. I like to use expansion boxes because they make your installation a bit cleaner. It's very easy to have multiple devices going into the signature meter, and you have 9 different cables coming back up into the bottom of it. If I use the expansion boxes, I really only have 3 cables going to my signature, and at the expansion box, I'm able to branch off and then power up those additional TIENet devices. Makes for a cleaner installation when I have a high number of sensors that I bring into my signature meter. Now, through all of this and multiple applications and input and output from both the sampler and the signature meter is where we introduce our flexibility of this system. The signature meter is one of the most flexible meters that are out there available on the market. We can monitor water quality. We can take Modbus inputs from other devices, SDI devices from SDI inputs from other devices, as well as pace samplers. It's even compatible with Teledyne Isco's brand new laser flow velocity flow meter. For those of you that may not be familiar with this concept, it's a non-contact laser velocity meter. It's very exciting. If you'd like some additional information on this meter, please contact us at the end of the webinar. We'll gladly provide it. Now, not only does the signature meter available with the flexibility to accept all of these different inputs, it's got outputs that will go to a web interface, different alarms that may be familiar, 4 to 20 outputs, maybe just going to a simple strip chart recorder, Ethernet, or Modbus SCADA systems. So we not only have flexibility when it comes to the inputs, flexibility also as far as the outputs or how you can monitor this, the data collected by the signature from a remote location. Another great feature of the signature meter is its expanded diagnostics. You know, this is a very, very smart device. It allows for troubleshooting signals without needing a special voltmeter or any other special tools. It stores historical diagnostic information. So if you, from month to month, you may visit this site to determine if it's functioning properly, you can look at diagnostic records from the previous visit, compare them to your current visit. And also, if you needed this diagnostic information, it can be downloaded from the unit using a simple USB flash drive. Now, some of the highlights of the diagnostics are the TIENet devices and the ability for the meter to monitor whether or not they're functioning properly. You know, on a 3010 on the 310 device, there's a diagnostics that allows you to verify the whether or not the sensor is located within the dead band of the sensor from the top surface of the water. Or a 330 depth value can be used to determine whether or not you have leaks or blockages in your airline. And one of my favorite features of the diagnostics is the 4 to 20 output. It'll come up and alert you if there's an open circuit, so you know you have an open circuit and no load, as opposed to other issues that may be associated with a simple analog signal. As far as maintenance and improved maintenance abilities with the signature meter, anybody who maintains this flow monitoring equipment knows that you always have that combination of moisture and electronics. And if you really are concerned about getting the maximum life potential out of your meters, you always monitor the humidity inside of the case. A signature meter has 3 different humidity sensors built into the unit, and it stores those on its diagnostic reports. So it isn't a color indicating disc. It isn't color indicating gel. It is actual electronic data that can be transferred from the unit that monitors the case humidity. I think it's a fantastic function. Now, with that signature meter, we introduced some of the unique flexibility and the options that are there for communications. And now we're going to go into some of those communication protocols quick here and show you the different options that are available. Now, as far as communications, it doesn't get any easier than a 4 to 20 output. You know, you have a 2-wire, 3-wire connection. What we have is we have a 4 to 20 output card that installs directly into the meter. Now, this is a true TIENet device, and it allows for 2 independent 4 to 20 outputs per card. Now, you can plug in up to 3 different cards into one signature meter, so maximum possibility of 6 different 4 to 20 outputs from each base signature meter. They're user configurable. Any parameter that's being monitored by the signature device can be programmed into a 4 to 20 output. Now, each one of these cards that you install is uniquely identified by a serial number and the number of outputs that are there. And they are very, very easy to configure in the field. So if you would order a base unit and later on decide you would like to have a 4 to 20 output card, that option's available. Another communication device that's available through the signature meter is the Ethernet modem. Now, this allows for a hardwired connection to a local network or a LAN network. Data can be also pushed via this communication protocol into a FlowLink Pro database. And if you had some alarming that's tied into this Ethernet modem condition, those alarms are handled via the FlowLink Pro data, the server that contains the data for your FlowLink Pro software. Now, when you don't have a wired connection, or you might have remote locations for these compliance monitoring locations, there are cellular modem options available. There are CDMA modem options, which that's the type of cellular technology that we're all familiar with. That's what our smartphones have. There's also a GSM, which is a GPRS system that is available or will be available shortly, that you'll be able to communicate to these devices using a GSM-based data plan. Now, getting back to the cellular modem functions here, you have remote connectivity for programming of the unit. You also have the ability to retrieve data and view real-time data from a wireless communications. Now, people that are currently using the FlowLink Pro database servers, you have a data push options that's available with this signature device that periodically it'll wake up, push data back to your system. And when using that type of a server, you also have a web interface, so you can log on to that remote server from any web interface computer and view your data. Now, we discussed a little bit about technologies that are available in wireless communication. In wireless communications, there's a couple of different terms that are thrown out there. One is called pulling data, while the other is called pushing data. Pulling data is that you have a remote computer that contacts the site via an IP address through the internet and asks for the meter to download all the available data in it. That's called pulling data. Through the use of the wireless modems, we have that option available. You can program the unit remotely, retrieve data, view those real-time readings. Now there's also the push data option. And in the push data, the communication is initiated by the remote unit. In this case, from our diagram here, it's the signature meter. The signature meter will periodically take the data that it's stored and recorded and push that back to your internal server. Now, some of the wireless communication and the Ethernet is, that can be a little bit complicated. It can be very tedious. If you're somebody who just likes a simple platform to collect data, there's a USB port right on the face of your signature meter. It's a quick and easy way to extract data from the device. And when you open the door, that little white cable that's shown in the picture here, it's right inside the door. So you don't even need to go out and buy a separate USB Connect cable. It's all included with the unit. Now, when you plug the USB flash drive right into the unit, display changes on it, and you get 6 options. You can retrieve your text reports if you're out there looking just for diagnostic information and basic information that was retrieved by the unit. You also can retrieve all the raw data from the unit, store that on the USB. A neat feature to this is that you can actually update the unit's firmware, internal software, with the USB device. You plug it in, flash it, come back over. You don't need to carry a laptop, extra cables out to the field with you when you want to update your equipment. You can save the current program for the unit. So if you were recording flow in a 2-inch Palmer Bowles flume, you could have that unique program, download it, and then move it to another site that's using a signature meter, or just store it for your records. And also, if you just plugged it in here and you didn't really choose to do either of those, there's always a bailout where you can hit the none of the above. This is just an example of the text report that's available from the signature meter. It'll analyze every one of the parameters that it's currently monitoring, give you an average min-max value. This is what we would call a summary report. Now, sometimes people are leery about digital data. They think if it's in an electronic format, it can be altered, it can be modified. With the unique features of the signature meter, there is a software program that will verify data integrity. So when you have those text files that are loaded on a USB drive, and somebody hands you to those to check their compliance, you can take the file off of that USB drive, run it through a verification tool, and what that does is it'll check to make sure that nothing has been altered of that digital data from the signature meter all the way into your possession, so you know this is actual true data. Great verification tool, determines and just ensures that you're getting secure data, especially when you're using it for compliance monitoring. Now we're coming to the end of our presentation. We're kind of wrapping things up very neatly here. These are some of the features of the signature flow meter and some of the benefits. Data integrity. You can verify the authenticity of your data. That USB interface being very convenient. Multiple interface options. TIENet smart sensor technologies. You have many, many options. It's very flexible for remote communication. There's some security features that are built right into the unit. And an option that we really didn't discuss is you have a backup power option too. So if you would lose power to your site, the signature meter would remain powered up, storing all your valuable information. At the beginning of our presentation, we introduced a smart meter, a smart equipment to do your job fully and do it accurately. One of the things that I was thinking about this as I was preparing this presentation is that, back when you were younger and you maybe had those projects with your fathers and you worked on something and you're working with a tool, and you ever heard the comment about let the tool do the job? With these smart sensors, smart samplers, you let the tool do the job because it's all built into it. And then it's reliable, it's doing its job, and then the data that's very valuable to you is collected in a secure, authentic position, and then you're able to present that data for your compliance monitoring and have full confidence in the meters, in the samplers, and the data that you collected during those events. So in conclusion, smart sensor technologies are a major advancement in the environmental monitoring equipment. They're there. I highly recommend using what's available, seeing what's those new tools that are available for your toolbox. Smart meters allow for connections to a variety of different manufacturers' sensors. So if there's one particular sensor that you're very fond of, there's a way to incorporate that into a meter that may fit right directly into the platform that you've selected. And also, smart sensors provide a maximum flexibility for your multi-site monitoring. And lastly, that smart handling data provides an unmatched data security. At this time, I would like to thank you for attending Teledyne Isco's webinar presentation today. We got a chance to introduce our new products and a smart way to improve the current existing monitoring technologies. And again, if you have any additional questions or something that we didn't cover in today's presentation, please feel free to contact us at info, at teledyne.com, and we'll forward those questions to the appropriate people that can get you a very good answer to any monitoring questions you may have. Thank you for attending, and we look forward to having you for additional webinar presentations brought to you by Teledyne Isco. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.